Good morning, everybody. Better late than never. Oh my God, I've got load shedding, which is always so much fun, huh? How's it, Sunil? We got Sunil Osman here. We've got Simpiwe Mtetwa, and we got you and me, and it's all happening. If you're wondering why we're in the dark, well, I mean, it's Eskom's fault. That's not ours. But I woke up this morning and I was like, oh no, not this shit again. Here we are. Load shedding time. You also just had load shedding, Sunil. Is that right?
Yeah, I had load shedding, and I was so concerned because we had to do the show. I had my phone out. I put the torch on. I plugged my phone into mobile tethering. To get some light going. Get the data, buy data. I think Telkom and other data companies are going to make a lot of money because of load shedding because they have to now
huge.
connect.
Yeah. I don't think they're complaining because we're all using much more data because we have to. You don't have an option. You got to do what you got to do. We can't just stop doing stuff. I mean, here we are. We're live at 6 in the morning, and there's just no power. So if you hear a big ooh in the background, that's my UPS. That's just, thank God, keeping the lights on, at least for this little bit. Simpiwe, you've got no load shedding, right?
Oh, and I do. So let me tell. I got home, right? I got home to load shedding. I was like, okay, we're gonna call it an early night. I woke up to load shedding, so I'm just like, guys, the pits of the pits is real. So
yeah. But isn't load shedding meant to finish by 5 a.m.? That's what they promised us.
Please.
Do you know this government? Are they ever on time?
Sunil, they lie to you. There's nothing you can do about that.
Indian time.
I don't know if it's even that. It's worse. It's like you can't rely on anything that they tell you.
Yeah.
They sent a schedule. What was it, yesterday or the day before? Because this announcement was only made on Monday, and they're like, no, you got to stage 2, and then they tell you, no, it'll be finished by, as you say, 5 o'clock. And look, lo and behold, no finishing there, sitting in the dark. Anyway, this is not unusual. This is what we have to deal with. So let's get on with it. Lots and lots of things to talk about. Cabello says you can go back to sleep, Cliff. The show started in the comments. Well, there we go. Exactly. Don't need it. You know what?
Having their own party.
That day will come. That day will come. And what a glorious day it'll be. Congo Chris says, greetings, Gareth, Simcard, and the rest of the team. Sorry to bring up something sad, but rest in peace, Gilbert Gottfried. Now, I got this. I got this news last night. You know who Gilbert Gottfried is, right? He was the voice of the parrot in Aladdin. He was a famous voiceover artist. He was a tremendous comedian, one of the dirtiest comedians there ever have been, and just, I mean, an incredible guy. I always thought he was terrific. I always loved his sense of humor. I thought he was really foul-mouthed, and he did a lot of the roasts.
What happened?
Well, he was quite old, so I mean, I don't know exactly. The family put out a statement that he passed away in his sleep, that it was all very peaceful and everything, but it doesn't make it easier. And just in case you're wondering who he is, I'll put up a picture of him now so you can see who we're talking about. That's Gilbert Gottfried over there.
Yeah.
He's the one who goes, I don't know if you remember who I am, but I'm a comedian who's now dead. That's kind of how he's. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Shame, man.
May rest in peace.
Yeah, shame. I really, you know what? We're losing some good people. I mean, there's so many shitty comedians they could have taken, but Gilbert, my favorite thing that Gilbert ever did, and you might never have seen this, but it's worth looking it up if you haven't. There's a great joke that comedians tell each other. And the whole point of the joke is to be as foul and disgusting as you can possibly be. And that's what they do. It's called the aristocrats, right? And Gilbert does probably the best version of this. I'm going to see if I can't play just a little bit of it. It's probably going to get us into trouble, but it's worth trying anyway. And I say trouble because, there are these rules about like copyright and shit, but it is really, really funny. I mean, the joke is so simple. It's basically a family that goes to see a talent agent. So that doesn't sound like the great setup for a joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the filthiest joke in the world. And Gilbert Gottfried told this amazing version of this. Let me just see if I can't play this because I don't need to if I can play just the first bit of it, it's 9 minutes long, so I'm not going to play you the whole thing. But oh my God, is it revolting? Okay, so here's how it starts, right?
A talent agent is sitting in his office. A normal American family walks in. Father and mother, son and daughter, a big fluffy dog. The family has blonde hair and blue eyes and bright skin. And the talent agent looks up and goes, all right, let's see what you do. So the father drops his pants and takes off his shirt. He's totally naked. He undresses his wife, starts fucking his wife on the floor.
Yeah.
Then the son drops his pants, takes his shirt off, and his sister also takes all her clothes off. The son and the daughter start fucking on.
And it carries on. But you've got to listen to it because only Gilbert Gottfried with that voice of his can tell it. And he's and there's tremendous amounts of shit and piss and cum. And he's just...
Oh, what are you doing, Steph, bro?
You know what? I love playing things that are really touching and beautiful when people have died. And that's the most touching and beautiful thing I could find. What a great guy. What a great, great guy. Oh
man.
In fact, I used to play a lot of his laughs on the show, remember? I used to play his laughs all the time on Cliff Central. This is him, right? Listen. That's Gilbert, all right?
Yes.
That's him.
He says yes.
His laugh is contagious. Oh, I would not have a straight face.
He's the best.
Oh my gosh. I could die of laughter just listening to his laugh. Like
he's the best. Yeah, he's the very best of like the gross old comedians that we will never have the like of them again. So there we go. Gilbert Gottfried. I'll tell you what, this is exactly right. Tracy says the eulogies at his funeral are going to be brilliant. Oh, wow. It was like Joan Rivers when Joan Rivers died.
Yes.
They all made really, really awful eulogy speeches, right? And the one, because Joan always used to joke about how old she was, right? And this one guy got up. It might even have been, I don't know if Gilbert did one of the eulogies at Joan Rivers' funeral. He may have. If it was him, it sounded like this. He went, Joan Rivers had such a dry vagina that she had camels walking in and out. It's so great. Oh my God, what a guy. Huh? Yeah. God damn it. Anyway, listen, the other people we've got to pray for and think about this morning are the people in KZN. Wow.
Yes.
Holy shitballs. Whatever's going on there. It's just terrible. Were you also inundated, if you'll pardon the use of that word, very insensitive, but were you also blasted with videos from people either that you know there or people that have nothing to do with it, that are like living in Oudtshoorn, and they're like sending you videos of like that one, I think we played it yesterday, of the house that looks like a chocolate river flowing through it. And oh my, there are some terrible, terrible scenes. Did you see that aerial footage from, I think it was taken from a helicopter yesterday afternoon, quite late, of a whole bunch of flats? It could have been in Umhloti. It could have been, I'm not sure exactly where, but if it was Umhloti, then it must have been towards the end of that one road that goes along the beach. And there's this landslide which comes down the mountain. And basically, there's this long line of flats, and then the flats in the middle where the landslide happens are just obliterated. They just collapsed right into the ground. And the whole thing is flooded down into the street below. It was just unbelievable.
Sure. Yeah. When it rains, it pours, and this is
literally.
Man.
Yeah. Do you have friends there? Because I was sending a whole lot of friends messages last night to just check that they're okay as well.
Not
Yeah,
really.
I got a few friends. I had a live video I did last night, and there were quite a few people from KZN that came into it, and they were talking about how the families have been affected and things. And then you get the odd person here that will say, I saw it yesterday. In fact, somebody sent a message saying, and just watch, the government's going to say, please use water sparingly because the water catchment areas weren't enough.
Yeah. Oh my God. You're right. That is going to happen. Vyasan says it was Umkloti. Carl says, oh, this is brilliant. Zandile Gumede is in charge for one fucking day, and look at the place. Crazy,
Yeah, even the place is saying no. They're just like,
no, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Even nature's like, girl, no, we don't want you. We're not feeling you. We are mad. We're upset. So I think if they change that, the rains might stop. But it's bad.
Linda Ntuli says that video of the house that sinks is just, I've seen that one too. Oh, terrible. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. You know, the funny thing is, I was mentioning yesterday when we were talking about this on the show that I had watched the news on Monday night and there was no mention of any of this. There was nothing on the news at all. And then yesterday, it was like wall-to-wall coverage of KwaZulu-Natal. But the news rooms are so slow and stupid these days. I mean, I turned on the TV. Obviously, the international networks didn't have anything. But SABC, ENCA, nothing. Zero. I didn't see any of it on Monday night. And that was when most of the rain came down. And then, obviously, yesterday was pretty terrible as well. But by sort of midday yesterday, it caught on.
Is it maybe because they were sending the reporters there or trying to get a hold of reporters? So that's a bit of a delay.
No, there was an increase of social media exposure. So suddenly the news went, oh, this is important.
No, that's exactly right. That's what happened. You could see it because they were talking about like Jacob Zuma's trial being postponed because he wasn't well on Monday night. That was the main story, and they talked about it for like 15 minutes. I was like, guys, I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one getting these videos. It just shows you like the journalists who used to be the first on the scene for things like this. You just can't rely on them anymore. Ordinary people are the news. And
journalistic integrity
this thing is more important than anything that they put on the TV. TV is just way behind now. Way behind.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Oh,
you'll see that even some news even some news channels will take the videos of other people, what they've done on their social media and things, and use it as their news footage these days.
Oh yeah. Well, have you seen articles where like the entire article is basically a thread of tweets, and they're like, "This is what happened in the news," and you're just like, "Oh, this is a tweet, a tweet, a tweet, a tweet." Like you didn't do any research. All you did was gather tweets together.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do now, because they're also lazy and they're not as clued up. You know, before they're human too, so journalists make mistakes and they get it wrong sometimes. So. It's you don't expect them to be on top of things like they used to be once, but it does just show you we don't really need them like we used to. And everybody says, the media is like the fourth estate, you know, it's a pillar of society. And sure, the news, there's still a huge role there for editorial, and you know there are brilliant journalists. There are also terrible journalists, and there's a big gap between those two.
Yeah, and I remember when it makes me think about back in the day when I started in radio in like 1999, and how I was actually the news and talk team manager for a particular radio station, and I had a full session where I used to train the team how to do actual research before the internet was so accessible. It's changed drastically.
Well, I mean, how did you do research before the internet came along? You had to go to a library, or you had to speak to an expert, you had to dig out like some actual article from a previous newspaper. I mean, it was hard work to do that stuff. These days, you just have to log on.
Yeah, and sometimes you log on to something which is completely incorrect.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. All right, but let's turn our attention. There's nothing we can do except share sympathies with the people in KZN who are going through all of this. And also to obviously, if you can, you know, there will be a point somewhere in the next few days where there are going to be a lot of people who are homeless, a lot of people who need basic necessities. And if you feel like you're in a position to donate and help, there's always room for people who are able to help and able to get involved. So that's coming. Don't worry. And I saw that, much to everyone's relief, there was a break in the rain from yesterday afternoon, and I don't think it started again today, but there's likely to be some more towards the end of this week. So holding thumbs, everybody. It's not the best Easter weekend for KZN. I'm sure that everybody who was planning to go away for the weekend is going to have to cancel their plans, because that's just not going to happen. I mean, you can't go to the South Coast at all. The highway in Amanzimtoti is gone. It's gone. It's been washed away. You know where the old airport was? Gone. So unless I'm severely mistaken, the people in southern KZN just can't get out, and the people who are trying to get down there can't get in. So don't bother. Cancel your holiday. I'm sorry if you've already paid a deposit. You're not going to get that back. You're going to have to make other plans. Stay at home this weekend. It's just not worth it. You're not going to get in there. All right. I do want to show you one or two interesting things. First of all, if you think the death of Gilbert Gottfried is sad, then take a look at Lizzo getting onto a jet.
Whoa, what is she?
Yeah,
Well, she's not dressed, basically.
Well, she says she's dressed, and she's got she's got like a, there's this cutaway trend at the moment, simply where people they have a huge part of their outfit cut away to show off some ass or some leg or whatever it might be. So here's Lizzo climbing onto a private jet. You can actually, if you really zoom in, which I'm not able to do on this system, you'll see how much strain the front tire of that jet is taking as she climbs up the stairs.
Oh my word! No.
Yeah. So
this is
she's a climate change hardliner. Can you imagine how much the carbon footprint? I mean, just her actual footprint, but imagine the carbon footprint for Lizzo. And she's taking a private jet in that picture to go to some, I don't know, awards show or something. I struggle to take. Well, yes. Yeah, that's how she's going. Lizzo is one of those people who, first of all, she says she's really proud about her size and that she's a body positivity person, which is fine. If you're a body positivity person and you are proud, then you cannot get upset when people on the internet are mean about the way you look, because you're proud, right? If you've decided you're proud, you can't get upset about the people on the internet who say, you're fat and you've got a fat ass and you shouldn't wear those pants, because then you're not telling the truth. Then you're not brave and you're not proud. You're actually an insecure person who's pretending to be brave and proud. And then you can get upset. So you're allowed only one of those two. You can't get both, Lizzo. And I'm afraid if you wear pants like that, you also can't claim that people are victimizing you on the internet, because you are looking for attention. If you have a big backside like she does, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to say it's my favorite thing, but if you do, then that's fine. But if you wear pants like that, you're asking for attention. So you can't now claim, you people are very unfair because you keep drawing attention to my fat ass. Right?
Yeah, but the outfit
you
is
got to be careful what you put out there, what you're inviting. So it's going to cause reactions, and you got to be aware of the fact that it's going to do that. And as Gareth very correctly said, if you react to it in a negative way, then it's just your own insecurity at the end of the day.
But I'm still stuck. When did we get here? Like, when did we okay being basically naked in public? Like, if she was in her house dressed like that, I don't care. Like, if she took a picture dressed like that, that's fine.
Right.
But this is not in public. So you not dressed, and it's like we should be okay with the fact that you're not dressed. Even if it was a smaller person, I'd still have an issue with the fact that they're not dressed. Like, and you're going to be using a jet and whatnot, and you're going to an award ceremony. Please also respect us at that award ceremony by, dressing up and looking the part. Why are you not? When did we get here as a? I'm so shocked.
What farts?
Farts. Are you worried about Sunil? You worried about?
I'm worried about the farting. What if it's not a dry one, and then we're going to be in trouble?
But Sunil, you understand that farts are there, and farts are part of the package, even if you're wearing jeans that don't open your asshole open to everybody in the world, right?
Yeah, but I'm just worried about the plane seat being stained and the cleaning that has to be involved.
A lot of people are saying, you know what? You should wear a towel. I mean, Chris T says when nudists sit down, they place a towel under their bums for hygienic reasons. I think Lizzo should probably do the same. Well, when we had the nudists come into Cliff Central, remember John T. Searle had the sex show, Simpiwe? And whenever he had the nudists in, he had to put towels down. The nudists brought their own towels. And then they'd sit down on our chairs. That chair that you're sitting on now, Simpiwe, had at least 2 or 3 dozen naked asses on it. But they had a towel on there first, and then they took their towels home with them. So you don't have the smell of ass on our studio chairs.
That's great to know, Gareth.
Nice. Yeah. How does that make you feel? You comfortable now? Are you feeling good about yourself? Huh?
Yeah, I feel like I just need to sit a bit more prim and proper, but
I'll
like
bet.
on the edge of the chair, and just be like, let's continue with the show.
But see, the edge is the best part because that's where you lean forward and the air flows out when you're farting.
No, should I just change chairs? Like also, like should I just,
Yes. You know what? You just don't. Here's the other hypocrisy: is like, don't tell me you're all in the body positivity movement, and all Lizzo does is take offense to people on the internet who say that she's too big. You know, if you just say I know I'm too big, screw you. You can do that.
Yeah.
And it's none of your. You could say none of your business. But if you say I'm proud of this, then and you wear jeans like that or pants like that, let's just look at it again for those who didn't get their eyes burnt into the back of their heads. There she is. And if you walk around like that, then you can't get upset when people notice, you know?
But also Lizzo, I'm getting confused with her brand now because in as much as she's body positivity, if you actually look at some of her pictures, she's always wearing something overly provocative. Like
Correct.
she goes out of her way to dress up in a manner where it is everyone's like, what? Excuse me? And that's my issue is that you going on a jet. We don't need to see that. If you're at home, I don't care. You could be butt naked for all I know. I don't care. But the issue is that you do this on purpose. So it's like, what's going on here, Lizzo? Like, do you just want attention? Is that the real thing? Like, you just want attention. You want people to look at you and say something about you, and you're using body positivity because you can be a big girl and still dress very well and seductive, but not being overly provocative.
But the other, and there's some brilliant comments coming through. I'm just putting them up on the screen in case you're wondering. So, people say, I love SIM card. She's so authentic about your comments around this. But people are saying the pilot won't even be able to climb to 30,000 feet. You know, but you know, that's so the body positivity part of this is the first hypocrisy. The second hypocrisy is the climate change thing. You can't tell me that you care about climate change if you're some rich Hollywood star and you hire a private jet and you don't fly commercial, because we get shat on, you know, ordinary people. They say to us, oh, you people that fly, you have a huge carbon footprint. And if you drive a diesel car or, you know, normal petrol car, you're a problem. Now, I don't care how many petrol cars you've driven in the last 5 days and how far you've driven and how much fuel you've used. There's no way you even make a scratch on what Lizzo's private jet there is going to cost, right?
Yeah. No, exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
And she's not wearing a G-string. That looks like bum floss to me.
It is bum floss. I imagine the strain being taken by that G-string at the moment. Anyway, I just needed to show you that because, you know, it's amazing to me how, like, the only people who don't see this hypocrisy are the stars themselves. It's not just Lizzo. It's all of them. And we see them at these awards shows and they're like, you people in the rest of the world, you're all such terrible people. You should stop adding fossil fuel and carbon emissions to the world. You bad people. Then they do exactly this. I'm like, come on. You really want us to take you seriously, you sons of bitches?
Oh, the biggest one is when they actually have a summit. Yeah. But when they have a summit about climate change and then they all arrive in their jets, you're just
That's
like...
exactly what happens. Roof calls it a G rope, not a G string. We should call Lizzo's one a G rope. That's great. As the massive moon appeared on my screen, my son walked past. I fear he has been scarred, said Luzanne. Oh, yeah. That's the problem. If you watch this show and we put up stuff like that, then...
Stop.
Yeah. You're going to have to explain to the kids. Sorry. That's what being a parent is. It's not my fault. Imagine how fresh the breeze feels on her ass, says Robin. Yeah, sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Robin.
It's just unbelievable.
Ooh.
The G in the G string stands for giant.
You
of
see,
great-
that's
Lots of great comments coming in. All right, so Sunil, tell us about what you've been doing, because you've written a second book behind the scenes, and you've been talking about what really goes on in the entertainment business. Now that's going to be fun, because I suppose you're
so
going to name names.
my first book.
Are you going to throw people out there?
I actually am going to not name names, but I'm going to change some names.
Okay.
The book is about sex, drugs, and alcohol, and yourself in the entertainment industry and the reality behind it as well. And it actually links very nicely to my first book, which is purely motivational, very soul work, very deep, and it's basically to show how I got to that point. And I reveal things from the industry where, you know, the whole glitz and glam is not really what it's all about, and people don't know about the 3 o'clock.
Dude, come on, we want to know about who these people are. We don't want a soft version of this. You want to sell books, right? So to make it saucy.
It's so saucy. I actually even speak about being molested as a child in there by a family member. So it gets deep. Which is why I have to change.
Sure, I was not ready for that.
Wow.
Sure.
And then it speaks
show me
about
on the tissue. Show me on the tissue box. Show me on the tissue box where they touched you.
The hole's still closed there.
Oh, is that why you're worried about farts with Lizzo? No, it all makes sense.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, dude. That's so shitty. I didn't know that had happened to you as a kid. I mean, now that it's in people, that's quite hardcore. Are you just saying that because it's trendy and everybody wants to hop on that bandwagon? Is like, my uncle fiddled with me when I was a kid, or is it really something that you've decided that you needed to admit right now?
So it's something that I felt I need to come out, because lots of people don't speak about it, and was part of what's called my shadow work, dwelling into the things that damaged me as a child and helped me evolve and become the kind of person I am today. So I had to go really deep into that, and then there's a lot of things that came out with just women and men back in the day, and then as I mentioned, the industry itself and the little secrets behind it, like, okay, if you sleep with me, you get a spot in radio, or if you sleep with me, I'll give you a lead role in this.
Did you ever sleep with anyone to get a role or to get a job?
That is my problem. I haven't done that yet. Gareth, are you available?
No, you know what? I think I should feel quite insulted, because no one ever said to me, if you sleep with me, then you can have this job. That's never happened to me. I feel like they don't. I was too ugly to be abused, and I'm a little bit upset about that. You know, I know this sounds like the build up to a Gilbert Gottfried. It sounds like a build up to a Gilbert Gottfried joke, but I mean, should I be insulted that no one ever said to me, "Hey, you want to get ahead in the business?"
I'll get a call. For example, there's this woman. I'll say it anyway. And she called me at like 3 o'clock in the morning one day saying, "Look, you're doing very well in the industry right now. I can help you boost your career, but you'll need to do this and that." And I think that there are so many people that have done it. I'm aware of a few females that have done it as well as males in the industry. And for me, it's sad, because then we have shitty talent sometimes, and not the real talent, people doing the proper work out there, you know?
Yeah.
When you take people like you or myself, who actually stick it out and don't go sleep around, and we have a harder struggle sometimes. So it's like not attracting the attention that Lizzo attracts, you know? So
yeah, and it's also rare, Sunil, to have the girl approach the guy. It's usually the other way around, you know? So that's.
But I have a question.
I think I'm very lucky then. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, you're very attractive to these perverts. Carry on. What do you got?
But my question for you is, you know, once someone has kind of laid that offer on the table and you refuse it, do you get like now blackballed because now they're upset and, you know, they're just like, you refuse to sleep with me, so therefore I'm gonna not give you opportunities, and I'm gonna make sure that nobody else gives you opportunities. Does that happen when you say no?
So this one particular person I mentioned, Lindy, She was actually quite high up, and she said the words were, "You never work in this industry again." And
Sure.
I proved her wrong. I still did game shows and films and all those kind of things. But obviously, I cut all communication from her.
I remember I resigned once from a radio job, and then the woman said to me, where's your loyalty? And she'd said to me herself, I wrote about this in my book, she'd said to me herself like 2 years before, if you want loyalty, get a dog. That's what she told me. So when she asked me on my way out, I resigned, and I'm like, well, I'm out of here. She's like, where's your loyalty? And I turned to her and I said, you remember what you said to me 2 years ago? If you want loyalty, get a dog. And I was like, I felt so good about saying that, because then she went into this mad tirade, and she was like, you'll never work in this town again, blah, blah, blah. I was like, get to hell. Anyway, Congo Chris, revealing secrets here, says, did anyone else have to sleep with me to get into the comments section? Yeah, well, now you know how it works. The only way you get into the comment section on the show. Sorry, everybody. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got some serious things to get to. Let's look at some headlines talking about people in the entertainment business. Pabi Molloy. Now, this is unbelievable. So Pabi Molloy says she was never married to this dude who is trying to claim half of her estate from her. So obviously, let me tell you something. I have a problem with anyone trying to take half of something that isn't theirs, whether it's a man or a woman. But it's so much worse. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a chauvinist. And if you want to call me that, that's fine. It's so much worse to me when the woman has been the one who's the breadwinner and the man goes after her money. Like, what kind of a man are you? How much self-respect do you possibly have? Anyway, she has reportedly denied being married to a guy called Ruan Adams. According to the Sunday World, which, she said there was no marriage between herself and him, amid reports that he's claiming to end their marriage and wants 50% of their estate because their customary marriage was recognized by law as marriage in community property, and he had proof that he paid lobola. So she says, no, that's bullshit. You're not getting half my money. And there's some very funny comments that are coming out of people who obviously are not involved. But there are also people who are saying very sensible things, like the Pabi Molloy situation, says someone on Twitter, highlights the importance of having a solid marriage contract in place. You can't just expect someone to fill in the gap. You have to be very, very specific. You must write that stuff down, and both parties must sign and have a witness.
Yes, but I think what gets a bit complicated is, in Black cultures, we have ilobolo, and a lot of people do that first. And if you do that ceremony first, you guys are legally married in community of property. And that's the issue, is that people don't want to kind of do you have to go and sign and do the prenup beforehand. They kind of want to do the traditional stuff first. Ganti, the traditional stuff is what's going to hit you in the backside right now, because she's married, even though she's like, we didn't sign, we didn't do it. He's paid lobola. Two families have come together. The ceremonies, something happened, a celebration happened, and therefore you are then married. And that's, the sucky part about it, is that he is kind of entitled to it. And if the roles were reversed, I think she would also be claiming 50% of his stake. We've seen a lot of women do that. So
you reckon there's a contract there and she's just got to pay up?
It's not even a contract. The minute the two families, because what happens when you get married traditionally is he'll send a letter to your family, right? And then they'll agree on a date. And then the two families will meet. They will agree on an amount. So, for example, they say the lobola money is 10,000 Rand. He will then pay that money. The day he pays, there'll be a lunch or a celebration of some sort. And they literally, they give the bride to the groom. And that's what's considered marriage. There is no signing, but the mere fact that you guys agreed on an exchange of some sort, that kind of is what seals the deal in terms of marriage, traditionally. So in this case, she can't deny that they married, especially if he has proof of payment that he paid.
The lobola.
The lobola.
But isn't there a limit as to how much you can get? I mean, it's just like I saw the some of the things that he was demanding: their houses, their properties, the cars, and surely he only needs something that will maintain his lifestyle, not the lifestyle they had together. Because that's the argument here. He wants to maintain his lifestyle that they've had together.
I reckon there should only ever be a discussion around someone getting half if there are children. If there are children involved, that changes things because somebody has to pay for the kids, and the main breadwinner has to dock up for the children because the other person would have been at home looking after them, right? So then I think, okay, fine. Then you've got an argument for taking half of someone else's money. It's like when you see Jeff Bezos and he divorces his wife and she gets like a huge amount of money just for being around. And listen, don't get me wrong. There are supportive spouses. There are spouses who get involved in their husband or wife's businesses. There are also the children aspect of this that I've mentioned already. That all is a good argument for getting some of the money, but not half. I don't think that's right. I don't think you were there in the office slaving away like they were. That's why they made the money. And
yes,
I do kind of feel for Pabi Molloy because this guy sounds, even if he might be a tremendously successful guy, I don't know. I don't think so somehow, because otherwise why would he be going after her money? But like from a male pride point of view, I'd be so disappointed in a guy who I knew doing that to an ex-wife. I would be like, you're a real loser because you're taking half of her money where, you're not entitled to that. You don't get half just because you were married to someone. I don't believe in that at all.
Maybe there's a male mental health issue that's coming out of here for him. Maybe he's kind of seeking revenge of some sort as well. Because there are so many screenshots as well of social media posts of how Pabi actually admitted that she is married to him.
Yeah, well. Can I tell you something?
She can deny it all she wants. The truth is they married. That's the facts.
I think anyone who claims these days, people just say they've got mental health issues around everything because it's like the cover-all excuse. So if you've done a bad job of being a father or a wife or a husband or a mom or whatever, if you've done a bad job, you just say, "Oh, but I've got mental health problems," and it's like you get away with it. Then you forgive it, And I don't think that's right. I don't think you could use mental health as an excuse, especially when it isn't. And how do you prove it? You can't put someone on a brain scan machine and see that they're depressed. You can't. There's no way you can prove that. They're telling you what is convenient sometimes for them to get away with. So I think it's bullshit, and I'm not on his side. I'm on her side on this one. So Pabi, if you need someone to sit in the court and swear at him from the back row, call me. I'll come and do it. I've always liked Pabi Molloy. I think she's great. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
In other news, talking about like crazy celebrities, Britney Spears.
Your favorite person in the world, Gareth. She just lights up your world and you just smile every time you see her name. Like, tell us more.
Didn't I tell you that this woman was a complete chocolate fireplace?
What has she done now?
She told her 40 million Instagram followers yesterday that she was having a baby with her partner,
already?
Sam. Yeah, already. She's been out of conservatorship since June last year, and she's already having like another kid. This woman is not stable. Okay, she's just not stable. Now she's gonna have a kid. She previously wanted a family with this personal trainer that she's married to now. I'll tell you what, you can take the hick out of the swamp, but you can't take the swamp out of the hick. The form of legal guardianship known as conservatorship set up by her father after she experienced a mental health crisis meant she couldn't make her own decisions about her medical care or, frankly, birth control. And now she's able to have a kid. And so what did she do? She went straight ahead and had another kid. By the way, she still has not got custody of her other children because the judge in that case, who knows more than you if you're a Britney fan, I hate to say it, but the judge knows more than you. He's seen all the evidence you haven't. You've just read it in tabloid magazines and on the internet. That judge says we're not letting these kids near this woman. She's dangerous. And now she's gone and had another one. Excellent. Excellent idea. Terrific. Anyway.
Add more Britney Spears little ones to the world. Yeah.
Exactly. Like we need more of those. So, I could live with 5% every year that you're together, says John Bad Dog. But 50% for a few years is crazy. Yeah, if you get 5% for every year that you were with someone, mean, that can add up to quite a number of years, because then if you've been with someone for 50 years, then your payday is quite big. Then you get a full half. But if it's less than that, then it incrementally goes up or down depending on how many years you spent. I think that's a good formula. Of course, again, you have to write this down in a contract, and that goes. So even if you have the traditional marriage, you still need to actually decide the terms on paper. Don't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't show you don't love someone. It shows that you do love them, because you care enough if things go wrong that person isn't left high and dry, and that the same applies to you, obviously. Anyway, Tracy comes up with a good formula here. She says Britney's dad should also be in charge of Will Smith.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So one of the reasons she wanted out of the conservatorship, according to Mpleng, was that they didn't allow her to have a third child. So no surprises there. Make more Britneys. Yeah.
Sure. So
Yeah. You know what? Carl says the Britney Spears argument is a great one for the case of having you need to get a license to have kids. Yeah, but again, who issues those licenses, Carl? Is it going to be the government? Do you want, like, Batabile Dlamini being the one who decides whether you can have a child or not? You know that that's a bad idea, right? Who would you like to be the one that issues those certificates, Carl? Because that's the problem I have with it. I think I'd rather let people make terrible decisions, and good ones, than let the government make them for us. So I'm pretty strict on that one, even though I don't have kids myself. I think that the government should have less to do with it, not more. Anyway, it's time for us to turn our attention to the world of crypto. And as usual, there's loads of drama going on. People are talking about a massive sell-off. People are talking about whether or not it's going to go back up again for a while, or whether it's going to continue to slide down. And obviously, the person who we rely on to tell us what's actually going on is Sean Sanders from Revix. Now, Beyond Bitcoin with Revix, every single week, we get to hear about the most important developments in the world of cryptocurrency, and there is a lot to get into. So luckily for us, here is Sean, and we're very happy to have you back, Sean. How's it going?
Morning, guys. Morning, Gareth. Yeah, good. How are you guys doing today?
Good. So Sean, first of all, there was so much that happened in this last few days. It dropped down to like 39,000 just a little while ago. People got very nervous and jittery and sold off. Some other people held on. Some people don't know what's going on, and they're just going to close their eyes and hope that it all passes. But what do you think is going on here? Because you did mention that savings vault to us the other day. Maybe if we'd thought about going into the savings vault and taking your advice of last week, we would have been a little safer this week.
Yeah, the savings vaults were quite well received. Certainly blew through our expectations.
Really?
Just so everyone sort of has a bit of context, I mean, I went on the show last week and sort of mentioned that we're running this promotion of some kind where you can head over to the Revix website at www.revix.com, and you could reach out to our customer support team, and we would be essentially offering a savings vault where you would earn 9% in USD through the Revix platform. And this is sort of an early offering of one of the products that we're going to be offering in about 3 weeks or so. And the uptake was quite incredible. I mean, we had a couple million rand directly after the show. There should have been some sort of like Cliff Central referral code, Gareth. You guys would have been smiling as well. But clearly, people like to earn high yield in dollars, right? Surprise, surprise. And also with the rand sort of being as strong as it is now, I mean, it's it's the best time to go into dollars, right? So now you're not only earning a really high interest rate of 9%, but you obviously are protecting yourself from a sort of rand position.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. It shows that our audience is smart. And if you dangle a carrot in front of them, they are smart enough to know that that carrot's worth taking a bite out of. So well done to everybody who hopped on board the savings vault. But just tell us quickly, I mean, with regard to the savings vault that you announced, what is this? How is this related to what's actually going on with the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything else? And what do you see as the main reason for this latest drop?
Yeah, so maybe let me just start with the reason for the latest drop. So I think there's fundamentally nothing that's changed in the world of crypto. Ultimately, there's just probably a little shift in sentiment. So, I mean, yesterday we had the Fed confirm that we've had the highest interest rate or sort of the highest inflation rate, should I say, in the last 40 years, right? I mean, you've got inflation in the US of 8.1%. I mean, that's blown through all sort of estimates and all the rest. So that's the first thing. Now that sent every sort of high risk asset down, whether that's tech stocks, whether that is even high yield bonds, cryptocurrencies fall into that category. So that's sort of the biggest factor, I think. The other factor, which a lot of people aren't really thinking of, certainly outside of the US, is that it's US tax filing season, and in just 2 days, you've essentially got a lot of people that need to pay pretty significant taxes on their gains from last year. So you are seeing a lot of selling happening on US exchanges at the moment. So that's probably a smaller factor, but definitely one that's contributing to the sell-off. But again, I mean, 15%, which is ultimately what we've seen over the last, say, 8 days, that's been the sell-off. I mean, that's significant, but it's not completely wild in the world of crypto, right? I mean, we've been on the show many times over, and it's sort of had that volatility on a week-to-week basis. So for a lot of people, they're seeing this as the opportunity to get in. If you're a long-term investor, this is that opportunity. If you see that value over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. For other investors that are sort of more day trading, this is scary, and this is perhaps something new. So we always say, sort of sit back, take a look at the space, listen to yourself, be self-aware, because if you've invested too much in the crypto space and you're losing sleep over this 15% drop, and you perhaps got in, exactly 8 days ago or so, then, that's telling you something. Rather reduce that position that you have in the crypto space, or don't be that exposed to the price movements of crypto. Take a responsible long-term view.
Yeah, but don't be like Britney Spears and go and have another child when you're mentally unstable. It's the same thing. So, Sean, I mean, a 15% drop isn't the worst we've seen. We've obviously seen worse in the past, and we've seen huge improvements in the price of crypto as well. But some people here are just on a matter of semantics. They want to argue with you a little bit. So Freedom Fighter says, the rand isn't strong, the dollar is weak. That's probably about right, because really, I mean, it's not like the rand is doing anything spectacular here. It's just that the dollar is under huge pressure at home, and inflation is a major struggle for many Americans that is hitting the bottom line there for ordinary consumers.
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't think the rand's ever strong, really. It's more just, as that listener said, or as that viewer said, I mean, the dollar is weak at the moment, but also commodities are booming, right? And the rand is a bit of a commodities play. International traders, they look at this as saying, okay, commodities strong, rand strong, buy. That's literally like sort of their little mental algorithm.
Absolutely. All right. So what do you think of people who are selling off, like, let's say 10, 20% of their crypto portfolio and buying gold? I mean, that's one of the things that you guys offer. You offer lots of different products. What would you say is the most sensible thing here? And I'm not asking you for financial advice. I'm just asking you, is it better to have a spread across all of this? Because there are people who put all of their eggs in one basket. And I know that you've said to us, diversify, and diversification is the most important tool that you have as an investor, because otherwise you expose yourself far too much to the vagaries of one particular product. But would you say that it should be an even split? I mean, there are old financial advisors who say, oh, gold is for pirates, and you shouldn't even bother with that. What do you think of an overall strategy when it comes to investing?
I'm going to have that sort of boring response that I've said so many times over, which is, yes, diversify across multiple asset categories. The only time that you'll ever really see the value of diversification is when you've taken a big punt at a particular stock or just investment in general, and then it turns pear-shaped. I'm almost sure everyone that's over the age of, say, 35 or 40 has experienced that. And I mean, that's when you start appreciating diversification. So, the wisdom really is, don't experience that. Rather just, understand that diversification provides that value. So, I mean, it's not really a case of having an even spread or not having an even spread. Having an allocation of your wealth to gold, call it that, a 1 to 5% allocation to gold. This is sort of your total net worth. Do exactly the same thing with crypto. Look at sort of your retirement annuity, if you have one, or sort of broader investment portfolio. I mean, at Revix, we're not advocating to sort of come to us to put your life savings into the platform to hope crypto goes to the moon. And if it doesn't, you're in trouble, right? What we really are saying is treat this as a credible asset class. I can say as well, and I've said this quite a few times, is that institutions are coming, and in many respects, they've arrived. We've received more queries over the last probably about 4 months from institutional investors, wealth managers, sort of high net worth individuals than we've sort of got in the last 4 years of running the business. So institutions, their interest is there. And I mean, I'm talking big banks. I'm talking really big wealth managers in South Africa. So I think it's really just a matter of time. Like, this is too big now, right? You've got the UK government that's come out as well to sort of say, that they're going to promote stablecoin regulation, which is fascinating and fantastic for the crypto space. You are actively seeing regulations developed across an EU level. So all of a sudden there's a harmonization of regulation across the EU. I mean, 3 years ago, we were having discussions around, will this asset class actually still be around? People were still asking the question, can it go to zero? I don't think anyone's asking the question anymore, can it go to zero? It's sort of just, where does this go? And that's, I think, the exciting part from my side. So, having a bit of skin in the game, Gareth, you said this multiple times over as well. If you want to sort of be part of this emerging world of DeFi, of cryptocurrencies, which is really in many respects sort of the future of payments and decentralized sort of automated finance, that's what investing in crypto and investing in some of our products over at Revix sort of gives you exposure to.
Well, just ask the people who had all their money in rubles just a little while ago. Just ask them if they wouldn't have preferred to go into crypto. Not a single person would have said, no, let's keep it in the rubles, obviously. And it could happen to anybody. You don't just have to invade next door countries for that to happen. Currencies are within the control of a small group of people, and sometimes they make a bad decision. You've seen it happen in all kinds of places, and it will continue to happen. So rather go for the decentralized option if you ask me. But again, I'm no financial advisor. All right, Sean.
Again, don't have all your assets or all your eggs in one basket, right? And I think that's sound advice. I think, and again, last thing from my side, that Savings Vault offer from last week, we saw an absolutely incredible response from the Cliff Central audience. I want to, continue to offer that product until it's launched to the public. It is available to anyone that is listening. You can head over to the website and you can inquire about sort of the Savings Vault offer that's available. Essentially, it's earning 9% on an annualized basis in dollars. This is sort of an over-the-counter, if you want to call it, opportunity where there isn't sort of a investment product on the website that you can buy, but just ask our customer support agents. They're available 24/7. And we can go from there.
Superb. And go along and follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Revix Invest, REVIXINVEST. Thank you, Sean. Always good to see you, dude. Have a good week.
Great, guys. Thank you. Cheers. You too. Take care.
There's Sean Sanders, Revix.com. If you want to find out more, you can go along to their website. They've got all of their products listed there. And the one that he's talking about now, the Savings Vault, you have to ask them for, because only people who've been listening to this show are getting that offer in advance. So if you want it, you have to ask for it. You have to actually say to them, hey, I heard Sean on the show. Can you guys help me with this? And then they will. We got Sunil Osman. We've got Simpiwe Mtetwa. We've got me and we got you. And we will be back in a moment on cliffcentral.com. with lots more where that came. Wow, Simpiwe, that sun is bright on your face, huh? Sure. Look at this. Unbelievable. It looks like it's like angels have descended into the studio.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm going to fix this because this is not cute. But at least the sunlight, everybody. Woo!
Yeah. What would happen if the sun hit Lizzo's bum?
If the sun hit Lizzo's bum, it would look like an Arctic storm. That's what it looked like. All right, we'll be back in a moment.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Just in summary, do you think it's going to be a good year, George? Should the consumer be worried about what happens next? Should the consumer still search for cars? Would you recommend buying cars right now?
I think consumers, by and large, should not let themselves get sucked into the negativity of the environment. It is the most exciting time to be alive. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And we are live, cliffcentral.com, on a load shedding Wednesday morning with KwaZulu-Natal kind of flowing into the ocean. And I'm really, really worried about so many people that I know in KZN. If you're thinking about them too, you're not alone. And obviously there's enormous property damage. Some people have lost their lives. One of our listeners earlier, Vyasan, was saying that he has someone in the family who lost 3 cars. Their clients had parked their cars at their offices. The cars had just been washed away. So this is not a great situation for the people of KwaZulu-Natal. And if you're stuck in any of this carnage and this craziness around all the water that's come down, then I'm really, really sorry, because it's obviously these kinds of things are completely unforeseen. And I know that insurance companies will be making massive payments to try and sort some of these things out. In a moment or two, we're going to be joined by the master distiller of Beefeater Gin. And I'm very, very excited to have him on. His name is Desmond Payne, MBE, and we will talk to him about gin. It's something that I think a lot of people in South Africa are huge fans of. Many people want to know how it all works, how long it takes to develop new gins, what the actual character of the grain spirit is, and also find out how Desmond himself got into all of this. He's in South Africa at the moment, and we thought we'd take advantage of him being here to find out a little bit about that. But we've got our co-hosts, Sunil and Simpiwe, here with us this morning, who are going to be joining us as we go through your Wednesday morning and start your day for you. So let's meet Desmond Payne. Desmond, it's a great pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being with us. And I know you're only in South Africa for a short while, so it's tremendous to have you as part of this morning's little menu of things. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here again.
So, Desmond, we have met before, and I remember we spoke about 51 decades that you've been in the gin industry, and 26 of those have been with Beefeater, which is an unbelievable brand. Many South Africans absolutely love it. And you're the guy who is the master distiller there. You're the one who's been putting this and all the other products that we know and love together. When you laugh like that, when I say it's been 51 decades, 51 years, but
yeah,
but 26 of those years. I mean, if you'd lived 51 decades, you'd be doing all the things plus the gin. And I think you might have had, at some point after about 3 decades, you must have decided, right, now I'm just going to hit the gin hard. But it's an amazing thing to be able to talk to someone who's as au fait with this stuff as you are. You've also got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Gin Guild. You were also awarded an MBE from the Queen in 2018 for your contribution. So these are all huge accolades. Are you the most qualified and most awarded man in gin?
Well, people might say that. I think the truth of the matter is I've been around in gin for longer than anybody else. So one of our brand ambassadors said, okay, you're the most experienced gin distiller. No, you're not. You're just the oldest.
Well, potato. I mean, we consider that someone who's been in a specific business as long as you have, you must be fairly expert. Have you got one of those incredible noses that you could pick up just about anything in a gin? Is that part of the skill that you've developed over years, or is that just something that people talk about when they don't know anything about gin?
No, it is true. I mean, we always think when we're tasting something is what we get on the palate, in the mouth, but really right. The sense of smell is hugely important. I spent a few years right at the beginning of my career in the wine trade, and I think that kind of helped to develop my sense of smell.
I'm sure. So tell us quickly, after so many years in the gin industry, how have you seen it evolve? And what's changed? Because gin has absolutely skyrocketed in the last 10, maybe 15 years, but I think it's probably the last 10 years. It's become an enormous part of everybody's activities, everybody's range of drinks that they offer at home, that they want at the bar when they go out, that they want at the restaurant when they go for a meal. What's happened with gin, and why do you think this huge upsurge in the last little while?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's gone crazy, and that's why I'm still around, really. It's a combination of things. Things go in and out of fashion. That's one thing. So part of it is about fashion, and people don't always want to drink what their parents drank, or holiday where their parents holidayed, or dress like their parents, etc. So it's partly that, but it's also, I think, largely down to the fact that this generation of bartenders are absolutely at the top of their game. And it's something about gin. We think about fine malt whiskies or something, and you kind of sip them neat, and that's it. But of all the spirits, gin is the one that has that ability, requirement almost, to go the next step. So in other words, what I make as Beefeater gin is not the way that anybody drinks it. It may be as simple as a gin and tonic or a more complex cocktail. The bartenders love to work with gin because they can put their own stamp on it, their own influence, and that's part of it. And we certainly see that markets that really never saw gin in the past, like most of South America, for example. I never saw a bottle of gin when I was traveling there. Now Brazil is one of our biggest markets, so it's fashionable. But it's because gin is something you can really work with and put your own stamp on it.
Oh, we can't hear you, Gareth.
Oh, sorry, Desmond. What about the manufacturer? What about the manufacturer of new gin products? Because it's not as if you have one formula and a company sticks to that forever and a day. There may be certain products that are tremendous and stand the test of time, but when you're developing a new gin, and there are all of these artisanal and floral and various other kinds of gin that they're coming out with. I mean, it's very, very difficult. You go into the bottle store now and you see such a variety of gins. And you obviously have been at the forefront of developing so many of these. How long does it take to develop a new gin, and what goes into it?
Well, the first gin I ever developed was a brand called Beefeater 24, and I'd actually been making gin for 40 years at that stage, so it was time I could put my own sort of influence on something, and that took me about a year and a half, because I really wanted to. I was learning. I'm still learning. I'm a bit faster these days because they're coming out quite quickly. I think one of the things that's happened, one of the trends in gin, is flavored gins, which is a slightly odd, almost a contradiction of terms, because all gin is flavored. Yeah. But the addition of fruit flavors and color and sweetness to gins, that's massively growing in the market. And they're really exciting to do. But actually, from what you said earlier, everything I do is based on the traditional regular Beefeater gin. And then I just do something else with it to give it another dimension.
And Desmond, is it true that all gin has to have juniper berries in it?
That is true. So, I mean, I think gin is kind of in revolution at the moment. People are saying, why must I do this? Why can't I do that? But if you forget the juniper, it's not gin. It might be a really nice drink, but it ain't gin. So, there are some limits to it. But juniper, yes.
It's good to know those rules. Now, you also said, speaking of rules, that everybody has gin their own way, and people prefer to mix it with either this or that, or they put these things in it. And there are all these people who put a ton of different fruits and berries and all kinds of things into their gin. Some people put in mixes of various colors. Is there a favorite way? Obviously, you're not going to tell anyone they can't do it that way, but is there a favorite way that you like to drink gin?
Many ways, in fact. I mean, the classic way of drinking gin is gin and tonic.
Yes.
And I have a kind of philosophy about whether it's making a new gin or how I drink a gin, is kind of keep it simple. Don't get overcomplicated. You don't need to. Let the gin talk for itself, if you like. So with a gin and tonic, I like just a decent measure of Beefeater gin for me, some ice, not too much, and top it up with tonic, about 3-to-1, 2-to-1. It depends on how much you want to take. And for me, just a slice of lemon is great. But I've been to markets like in Spain, where they dress up the gin and tonic with a handful of juniper and sticks of licorice and cherries and strawberries, and it looks great, but you kind of have to strain it through your teeth to drink it in the end.
Yeah, I've seen some of them that look more like a fruit salad than a gin, right?
Exactly, yeah. So for me, keep it simple, and the same principle applies to making a new gin. You don't have to go to take a rowing boat up some strange river somewhere and find a flower that grows on top of the tallest tree and use that as your botanical, because just for the sake of it. Because you're never going to find it again next year, and it's just honestly not worth the effort. It's about flavor. It's about balance of flavor. That's what really matters.
Well, Bailey, who's listening to us, says Beefeater 24 is amazing. Now, that's your creation. What are the career highlights can you tell us about? Because with that many years in gin, there must be many. It must be difficult for you to just whittle it down to one or two.
Yeah, I think I've probably forgotten quite a few of them over the years. I think receiving the MBE was great. It was a nice surprise. 24 was great. I created that gin. I kept everyone away. I said, this is all my work. Go away. I'll tell you when it's finished. Uh-huh. And there's a big competition called the International Wine and Spirits Competition. And yes. I'd been at a lecture somewhere, and we'd just launched the brand. And I came out, and there was a big sign, and it was showing my brand new gin as the trophy winner for best gin. So that was a really proud moment.
That's tremendous.
And when I travel, I sometimes just go into a bar, and not on business particularly, and I see my products behind the bar. I think, yeah, that's good. I made that. So you get these moments of pride.
It must give you enormous satisfaction to see it on the shelf and to see people ordering your gin. And I mean, you mentioned the MBE. Now, the Queen occasionally partakes in gin, doesn't she?
She does. We hear that she's just given up drinking, which is sad for anybody, actually.
I would have thought you should accelerate as you get into your 90s.
Well, I'm accelerating, that's for sure. Yeah, she does. When I got my MBE, it's actually done by Prince William.
Oh, wow.
He they have a little chat with everybody. You're sort of lined up, and it's next. Yeah. And he said, "Actually, I'm a vodka drinker." So, which wasn't what I wanted to hear, but I said,
"No,
give it time, sir." And he said, "It's all right." He said, "There are other members of my family who are definitely gin drinkers."
Well, that's a disappointing bit of information about Prince William vodka. Ugh.
We will work on it.
You've been to South Africa a number of times, haven't you, Desmond?
This is my third visit, actually, all too brief, unfortunately. I came down for a colleague's wedding about 3 years ago now, and spent some time going around the garden route, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And a very brief judging competition up in Johannesburg about 5 years ago. So this time I'm here for a week, so that's great.
Oh, good. So you'll get a little bit more time. That's very, very good. Yeah. Do you think South Africa makes good gin? Have you tried any of our local ones?
I have. I mean, the thing is, everybody everywhere is making gin. So there's good and bad everywhere. Actually, there aren't too many bad gins around. But there's a couple of South African gins. What I'm intrigued by is the use of local, regional botanicals, flavors, which gives gin, a different kind of slant.
Yeah, I tried something called a protea gin a while ago. Where they used like fynbos from the Western Cape. Yeah. So there are all kinds of
contain fynbos. Yeah,
very interesting infusions.
Inverroche is good.
Yeah, Inverroche is lovely. It sells quite well. But well done on so many years at Beefeater, and with Beefeater 24, that's your real masterpiece. If people don't know and they haven't tried that, then what kind of gin are you drinking, for heaven's sake? And it's terrific to have you on. And please keep doing the good work that you do to keep so many of us happy.
Thank you so much.
Can I sneak in one quick question?
Yes.
Is it true that black pepper enhances the gin flavor?
Well, if you say so, yes. I mean, there's no right and wrong with these things.
Oh.
And I've never actually thought of putting black pepper in my gin to enhance the flavor. But why do we put pepper on our food? To enhance the flavor. So yeah, it will work. So I'm going to try that. My next drink, which is not going to be for an hour or two, I'm going to call for black pepper. I'm here really for the gin and tonic festival on Friday, so maybe I'll try it then.
Oh, brilliant! So
Nice.
for the Gin and Tonic Festival, we'll find out all the details of that and put them up on the website as well, and you can go along and visit. But Desmond, great to have you in South Africa again. And as I said, keep making terrific gin. We all love it.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Very good. Nice to see you. There's Desmond Payne, the master distiller at Beefeater, and he's been in the business for 51 years. Just an incredible
Crazy.
contribution. Yeah, isn't
The
it?
flavored
Isn't it terrific?
gins are a problem. The flavored gins are a problem because you end
Why?
up taking shots.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you mustn't drink. No, you mustn't drink gin like that. I'm sorry. I know that Desmond said you can do it any way you like, but really, Sunil, what kind of Philistine would do that with gin?
I mean, you have to do shots, Gareth. Like shots
Not
are where
shots
it's
of- Don't
at.
drink shots of gin. Yeah. What I like is that when I have had people around to my house and we have gin, then there's all these little bowls with like blueberries and rosemary and whatever else there is, that cucumber, whatever people want to put in there. And some people really do turn them into fruit salads, but it's an amazing thing to drink and also quite refined. I mean, there's the old wives' tale about the fact that so many people used to drink gin and tonic because it kept away the malaria. There's quinine in the tonic water
Yeah.
that kept away the mosquitoes. Whether or not that's true is still up for debate. And there's obviously lots of history with gin too. It's the only alcohol that had a specific piece of legislation brought in to control it in the late 1700s in England. So that's also interesting. There's lots of really cool stuff. Tracy says if you're in Stellenbosch, there's an amazing gin bar at Asara Wine Farm. The biggest selection, absolutely amazing. Dry gin, Indian tonic, rosemary, citrus, cassis. You haven't lived until you've tried those. Beautiful. Beautiful.
There's actually like a gin restaurant not far from here in Morningside, and they have like all sorts of gin. If you are a gin lover, then you have to go check out that place. I think it's called Josie Gin or something. The
you
gins
sound
there
like
are.
you sound like you know a lot about this.
Mm.
I'm just letting people know where they can get like really great
But
gin.
Simpiwe,
hey.
have you ever tried an Indian tonic?
No, I haven't.
Very nice. Very nice, Sunil. I like it. All right. Okay,
man.
so we're going into winter. Simpiwe has the world's most useless heater, and she's
Yes.
actually taken a picture of it to show us this morning. So let's just all take a
Yes.
moment to laugh at Simpiwe's shit heater. Here it is, the
Like-
most useless heater in the world. She says this thing. Now, I've seen this before, right? I used to
This-
have one of those.
Heater
Yeah, you
should
don't
not
like it.
be manufactured. We need to just ban it. It doesn't. A heater's supposed to make the place warm or the room warm. This stretcher, I don't know what it's heating up. Maybe the floor, but it does absolutely nothing. Like guys, I give up on this. Like it
Well-
needs to be thrown out. It's the most useless heater out there, and I'm just like, whoever still has, I'm high key judging you. I'm high key.
And when it starts, it
Judging
sounds
you.
like popcorn, doesn't it? Pop, 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 pop,
Yes,
pop.
and you're thinking, okay, no, this, give it 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, the room is going to be heated. Oh no, just that small corner where it's at. It's like, whew, bit of warmth. And then like the rest of the room is ice cold. Like it's absolutely nonsense. Don't buy it. Don't invest your money in that.
Also worry because we have so many fires in South Africa that are caused by people leaving heaters on. And that heater that you're talking about, Simpiwe, for people who are listening, not watching, it's one of those ones with the panels and it's got oil in it. And the oil gets heated up by an electric element at the bottom. And then that supposedly makes the whole heater warm. But as you say, it doesn't always translate into air being warmer in the room. So you may have directly around the heater. And I remember as a kid, we used to have heaters like that. We had my brother and I shared a room, and we had one heater like that, and we were told not to leave it on at night. So when you woke up in the morning, you'd switch it on, but it would take so long to get hot that it did no good. And then you would think, well, if I just put my like my school socks on there or whatever. That'll make them warmer, but it doesn't. It doesn't help you at all.
Utter useless. I was just like, who made us like buy this useless garbage of technology? And we've tried everything. I've even tried like you put a blanket over it and it's just like this thing. Guys, you're just playing with your life. No.
You can, but I'm telling you, that's where a lot of these fires come from, is people putting a blanket over a heater and then they forget the blanket there, and the next thing their whole house is on fire. It's not good. Not good at all. Justin says, I love my oil heaters. They are awesome. Ha ha ha, judge away. All right, well.
You clearly love winter.
Congo Chris says, those heaters smell like an inside of an old age home.
They do. And that's why some people put water in front of it. You know that if you put water in front of it, it helps with the condensation in the air because it actually dries your throat out.
Yeah, well, you need to, if you have a heater, you need to have some humidity. Otherwise, it takes out all the humidity and you end up waking up in the morning with a very, very dry, very sore throat. But what do you guys suggest? And by the way, I'll take anybody's advice on this because I don't currently have a heater in my house. It's like I don't have air conditioning, but I need to go and buy one. What's the best one to get? Is it those little air heaters, the ones that have a little fan and they warm up the air and they blow the air?
I'm also not a fan of those ones.
What do you like?
Gas heater.
Thank you. Yeah.
Gas.
Really?
The best. And if you leave it on for too long, it shuts off automatically if all the oxygen is gone so you don't suffocate.
Okay. A lot of people agreeing with you. Ruth?
I just know that from a room and heat perspective, like the room really gets heated up. So that's all I want in a heater is like I leave you on for a couple of minutes or an hour and then the entire room is nice and warm and I can just snug up with my blanket there and then go to sleep afterwards. That's all I want. So I've seen like gas heaters are the ones but the small ones, those are also just another lie, Gareth. Don't do it. Just makes a noise. It's like a fan basically. And nah.
Well, Chris is blaming you. Chris is blaming you for load shedding. He says, some QS is why we have load shedding. It's way too early to have heat on. Listen, I have a rule that I've followed forever. And you know how old I am, so this is true forever. Like, you know, Desmond, who we spoke to just now, he's been 50 decades in the business of gym. I've been around 50 decades, and I'll tell you what, I only switch heaters on. I only bring them out from May. If you bring it out in April, you are cheating. And the same goes for the blankets on your bed. You know, the winter blankets, you don't bring those out until May. And you don't bring out any other kinds of like electric blankets or any of that shit. If you use those, none of that until May. It's cheating.
No, but there is a bit of like a rule to the exception. Like this past weekend, I was not going to survive without.
I've been cheating for the past couple of days as well.
You know, it was raining. It was super cold. I'm like, I'm indoors. I want to be warm. You know, bring out that winter blanket.
It's not acceptable. It's not even mid-April. You can't be doing this already. Come on.
This past weekend, I'm sorry. I was like, no, I'm not a fan of the cold. I want to be warm. So the heater did come out for this weekend. And we'll see how the rest of the week goes. But if it's going to stay like this past weekend, it's not going back.
Well, Congo Chris.
Got you wet to bed.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, Sunil, we've got to talk about that in a second. Congo Chris says fireplace is king. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, listen, if you do have a fireplace in your house, that's the best. There is nothing better than sitting in front of a fire in winter. It's the nicest thing ever. Of course, it better be in a fireplace and not in the middle of the room. Otherwise, you have a problem. You got a big problem. So if you have...
My friend's ones is outside. What? So my friend's, he has a fireplace, but it's outside. So it doesn't help because we're just like, well... we have to be outside with the fire. No.
Yeah. Now, to go back to what Sunil said just a second ago, this is really important. Like, if you are that cold, just put on warmer clothes. If you get into bed and you're wearing, like, boxer shorts and then you wonder why you're freezing, that's why you're cold, right, Sunil? What do you wear when you're cold in the winter in bed? As much as you can?
I literally, throughout the year, only wear a T-shirt to bed.
Even in winter?
Even in winter.
Oh no. Okay, wait, then I have to ask, do you guys like go to bed with socks on?
No. My legs are hairy enough. Indian problems.
Okay, but only like a. Don't you have winter pajamas where it's like
So
the
I have
two-piece
got
and
like
it's
this
super
winter
warm?
pajamas that I'll put on, but I'll wake up without it on, and I'm always not understanding how. It's one of those things. I think I just like to be half naked.
You move around a lot at night, but the scary thing about Sunil's situation is if he wakes up in the middle of the night to go and check out some noise he's heard, he's just running around his house in a t-shirt with nothing underneath.
It's happened. It's happened. It's happened. Happened. 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm so glad my neighbor was sleeping. I took a nice little walk down the driveway. It was
Right.
very interesting.
Oh
And
my
you realize
gosh.
it's too late. When you're like, what's going on here?
No,
Oh my God.
I'm judging you. You need to have winter pajamas, the cute two-piece one that keeps you really warm and you still look cute. And then you need to have summer pajamas where it's like the shorts and
Yeah.
it's basically a crop top and you're looking like you're going out for a party, but it's actually just going to bed. You just need to kind of make going to bed a bit of a occasion now and again. And in winter, that's the perfect time. Then you wear like
Sure.
your
If you-
socks.
Sure, if
You
you're
know?
not if you're single, who cares what you're wearing to bed? I mean, like, nobody's looking. Just be comfortable. Whatever you
That
find.
is what came to mind. I'm like, if I wear too much and I've got somebody next to me, it's a bit too much for them to take it off me. I mean, I'd rather have
Yeah.
less.
At least with your normal t-shirt operation, it's very easy for them to just get access to
Exactly.
whatever they want.
Exactly.
So listen.
My navel.
I keep a bunch of old t-shirts. You know those ones that you've worn so many times now that they're actually soft, a little bit threadbare. I keep a pile of those, maybe 3 or 4 of them. It's not that many, but I keep those, and I recycle those when I use.
Oh,
sleep
even the
shirts.
free ones that you get at like events.
Yes,
Those
those are the ones.
those are
Yeah.
the best when they've just kind of gotten a bit old and you like and it's nice and oversized. You're just like, I'll roam around the house like this the whole day. That's why I love
Exactly.
free things.
The one I'm wearing now is about 7 years old.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
That's
But
super comfy.
the longer you've had it, the more comfortable it is, right?
Yes, you need to
Exactly.
wear it out, and you just need to. It just needs that crinkle, and it needs to be really, really faded.
Yeah. The only
Yeah, you
problem
would
is-
not be seen outside with it. It
No,
also
no.
needs to be that kind of shirt where
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
it's comfortable and it's lovely, but if you wore it outside of the house, it would be very embarrassing.
mhm. Those are the best ones.
No.
Best
So-
All right.
ones.
We're going to have to leave this here. Just one last comment. Jean says, I sleep comfortably at night in my ANC t-shirt. The question is, Gary wants to know, the question is, does Sunil have pants on right now?
Mm.
People want to know.
I don't want to get in trouble. I didn't know the pants
No, he's not
was a
wearing
requirement. Was it a requirement?
How embarrassing. Yeah, well done there, Gary. Thanks. Now we all have now we all know that we know for a fact now that Sunil, because if he was wearing pants, he'd say, "Look, Steph, I'm wearing pants. See, pants."
Yep.
Only
I
reason he
am
wants-
remaining
only reason-
seated.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Sunil's
my
got
butt,
everything
my
hanging
butt is
out.
about as cold as Lizzo's right now. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, very nice. Very, very nice. Here's a picture of Sunil climbing onto the private jet right there.
You didn't
All
tell
right.
us Lizzo copied that outfit from you, hey?
Exactly.
Exactly. That's our
Well,
new
thanks.
bum floss.
Thanks, Sunil. Now we know that when you join us on the show, you're never wearing pants. That's fantastic.
Never.
Changes the whole dynamic. It's great. All right,
That's
let's
why my
talk
hands are
to
always down.
you creep. All right, so let's speak to our guest for the morning, Steve Stavs. He's a speaker, global podcaster, 11 times Comrades finisher, and a biohacker. Now, you've heard about what biohackers are, right? You have any idea what this is? Well, if you're wondering what a biohacker is, you're about to find out. We're going to talk a little bit about the future of health now, and we're going to speak to Steve, who's on the line and ready to talk to us. Hey, Steve, how are you doing, man?
Good, and you, Gareth? Thanks for having me on. Hello, Simpiwe. How are you doing?
Good.
I'm
Good. Nice to see you. So Sunil and Simpiwe and I are not going to pretend that we know everything, and we're going to say to you we have no idea what a biohacker is. So start there. And we've got to compliment you, by the way, on your microphone and your excellent sound quality. You know, we really appreciate it when someone has the whole setup done properly.
What a pleasure. I understand how audio is so important after 100 podcasts on the Made to Thrive show. Absolutely. You know, we want to get out our voices and those on YouTube to make sure that they can hear us clearly, see us clearly, and ensure that we can express ourselves in the most, incredible way.
Absolutely. All right. So talk to us about biohacking, because these days everything is a hack. You know, every online site publishes here are some life hacks that can help you to file your stationery in the right drawer, or this is how you can hack your phone to give you optimal usage for your battery. But what is biohacking?
Yeah, look, I'll give you a couple of definitions and I'll give you the heart of biohacking. I think possibly everyone living in a modern world is a biohacker. So if you're listening to this and you think, I'm not a biohacker, if you stood on the scale this week and sort of made necessary changes, or you've looked at how many steps you've taken in the day, or you've measured your blood pressure and made the changes, then really biohacking is assessing your body, the measurements of your body, your internal environment, which is your body, and making necessary changes, as well as assessing your environment, the place where you live and move and work, and making those changes. A simple biohack is if your environment is way too hot and it's affecting your mood, you switch on the aircon, or if it's too cold, you switch on a heater. It's really about assessing both your body and the environment to make the necessary changes to optimize your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. And that's the definition of biohacking. So I think living in a modern world and all the data points we've got, I think everyone that probably is listening to this show is a biohacker.
Oh, interesting. You're on mute, Gareth.
Gareth,
still on mute.
There we go. Sorry, we were going to be all modest and say, we didn't know that. But that's why we were talking about heaters and what you wear to sleep at night, because we are actually all biohackers. We just wanted to be humble about it. Right, Simpiwe? Right, Sunil?
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
absolutely.
We knew that bringing up the topic of heaters, in the biggest scheme of things, was
great segue.
biohacking.
Exactly, and that's why I jumped onto that. I'm bringing continuation to the show. I want to make sure that the listeners listening to the heat understand that they're biohackers.
So Steve, I mean, let's just talk about the different ways that we can use technology these days, because technology has made it possible for us to monitor ourselves, to get a handle on our health, on our optimal body. Either whether it's productivity, whether it's energy usage, whether it's weight control, whether it's what you eat and drink, all of those things, just general health. There are obviously ways now that we can use technology to short circuit a lot of the things that before were not really that easy to measure. You'd have to go to the doctor, or you'd have to go to a laboratory or a clinic. Now, many people have, these watches on that give them heart rate and breathing information and information about sleep.
Yeah. Well, look, I think let's take a bit of a step back, and I think everybody needs to hear, the audience needs to hear, is we're losing the battle against chronic disease. If we look at the numbers, living in a modern world, and I'm not saying living on a farm, eating organic vegetables and walking outside, getting 10,000 steps and being labor intensive and the communities all around you. I'm talking about living in a modern world. If we look at that, we're losing the war against chronic disease. It's exponentially increasing. Whether the stats are in South Africa here, which shows that people over the age of 50, those that are over the age of 50, 80% of them have hypertension, high blood pressure. So we are losing this battle. If we look at the States, and here, in terms of modernity, the number one killer is heart disease. That's not changing. Cancer is a close second. Neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, these are chronic diseases that are increasing, and we are getting far sicker far earlier. So things have to change. And that's sort of my mission, my mandate, is how do we bring change so that the next generations and the future generations are not as sick as the people are. We think we're living longer, but actually longevity in modern worlds, and this has been shown in the US data, has decreased even before COVID for 3 years in a row. So why do we need technologies? If we want to carry on living in modern times, we need to make sure that we're going to start measuring sooner. Now, obviously, subjective data is important in terms of how you feel, what you look like, what people say about you. But the data points that we're getting now are significantly important. in terms of our health and our wellness. We need to look at things like Apple's, the new Apple Watch is going to give you a live glucose, blood test. You're going to see what's happening to your glucose. There are wearables now that are going to be able to give you a live blood pressure reading. So these are very, very important because we've realized that these numbers are going in the wrong direction due to lifestyle. So when we talk about hacks, we're talking about hacks because if you want to carry on living in these cities with the pollution, with the toxicity, with the electromagnetic radiation, with Bluetooth devices, with being more sedentary, with sitting behind computers and devices, which means you're getting less exercise. If you're going to want to live here, then I think you're going to have to tap into the new biotech, the new wearables, and make sure that you take personal accountability of your health. I mean, if anyone takes anything from this show, your health is your accountability. You take personal accountability. Unfortunately, what's happened, the narrative is, Gareth, is that we've given the accountability to our medical professionals, to our doctors who are brilliant in their own right, but they spend 10, 15 minutes with you. You need to take ownership of your health and understand why it's so important. Because without your health, and hopefully the pandemic has showed, without your health, it's really problematic.
This is such a good point that you raised because we went through this pandemic of 2 years and we had everybody on TV telling us how deadly this COVID was. And some people took it very, very seriously and some people didn't take it seriously at all. And many people died. And that's always a tragedy. And we know we probably could have handled it better. And looking back, there are always going to be questions about what we could have and should have and would have done. But the fact is, people don't take personal responsibility for their health. They want someone else to take that. They're like, oh, well, I go to my doctor once a year for a checkup. Meanwhile, you're eating, potato chips all the time and you never do any exercise and you drink too much and you smoke and you don't get out there into the sun often enough. And then you wonder why your health is suffering and you wonder why you look terrible. You wonder why you feel terrible. And it's all because of you.
And I want to emphasize that because the research shows us, Gareth, that 80 to 95% of all chronic disease is epigenetic, which means it's the environment that you place your genes in.
Right.
That means it's up to you. So yes, you might get the bad gene. You might be part of the 5 or 10 or 15%, but mostly it's up to you. You cannot blame your parents, your grandparents that you've got these diseases. You need to take that personal responsibility. And the heart of biohacking is to say, I'm going to be curious. I'm going to actually research. I'm going to tap into the data points that I can use to ensure that I can actually improve my health and my well-being.
I mean, Simpiwe and Sunil are listening to this very intently too, because it's scary to me that you just said for the last 2 years we've seen our chronic health conditions increase. I didn't know that. I thought we were actually getting healthier and healthier, but it turns out that's not the case.
Yeah, absolutely. It is not the case. And if we look at anxiety, I mean, I've just done a presentation now on anxiety and depression. The numbers are in 2020, increase of 25%. In 2021, an increase of 25%. So anxiety and depression is exponentially increasing.
Wow. Okay. So let's take a look at how we can become better biohackers and we can figure out how we can improve our health by just paying attention to the telltale signs. What do you do on a daily basis that you would call biohacking? What's your routine? What do you put in and what do you get out?
Brilliant question. Thanks, Gareth. But I think the most important is movement. If I can get people to at least do 10,000 steps, and I must really recommend, things like the Discovery Vitality Program. They're leaders worldwide and in this country to really try and improve people's health through biohacking. So get your 10,000 steps. What do? I try and ensure that at least every single day I'm getting 10,000 steps. I'm moving around. I'm less sedentary. So that would be if someone's thinking, well, I can't afford it. Well, you can get a simple Fitbit or one of these, measurables, and then go and try and get your 10,000 steps. Try and be as least sedentary as possible. So movement is exceptionally important. I think getting out into the sun for in the morning as best as you can, 20 to say 40 minutes, expose as much of your body as you can. Try not to use sunglasses because light in your eyes is very, very important. We want to make sure that we get at least adequate amount of sun. Do not ever burn. When we burn in the sun, that becomes carcinogenic. But the more sunlight we can get without burning, It improves your health, your well-being. It improves your sleep. In fact, one of the greatest things you can do for your sleep that I ensure is getting morning sunlight. Melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, it's the master antioxidant, is firstly made in your eye, in the ciliary body of your eye. So getting outside, getting walking, putting your feet on the grass if you've got grass, or walking barefoot, grounding, yourself in the morning is really, really important. I think we need to be able to touch the earth. We were created to connect with the earth. Is something that I ensure that I do from a biohacking point of view. And then fasting. Fasting is something that I've adopted. Intermittent fasting, fasting mimicking diets. These diets have been shown via the research and been part of humanity for generations to really improve many, many metrics in your body, from your ability to deal with old dead cells. We call that autophagy. Dealing with those, getting rid of those, cell regeneration and repair. So fasting has really been proved to, release ketones, which is good for brain function. So that's something that I almost do on a daily basis, a 16 or 18-hour fast. So that's some of the morning routine. I don't know if you want to unpack that, and we can go into the details.
Well, that's interesting, because I think a lot of people have tried this intermittent fasting. Some people are better at it than others. But where would you suggest the best time is to do that? Do you wake up in the morning and not eat until lunchtime?
Yeah, look, you got to look at your lifestyle if you've got kids and your family. But generally, that's what I do is, I generally eat and try and finish earlier. Big biohack is to try and give yourself 3-4 hours after dinner before you sleep, because it really helps your sleep data, which is what I measure through this Aura ring that I've got on here. It's a really cool device. And what it does is goes on airplane mode, so you can measure your deep sleep, your REM sleep, gives you a heart rate variability score. So making sure that's the first biohack is you give yourself enough time before you sleep.
Yes.
And then, eat until like 7 and then only eat at lunchtime. So try and ensure that you can push as far as you can from a fasting point of view. Measure your glucose. That's another biohack. You take a little pinprick, see what your glucose is at. You can measure your ketones. Now, ketones are produced when you break down fat. Everybody's trying to lose fat, Gareth.
Yes.
Everybody's trying to, Sunil, how do we break fat? Well, we break fat when we measure our ketones, because ketones are a byproduct of absolutely metabolizing fat. So these are some of the things I do for intermittent fasting. And once a week, generally, I do a 24-hour to 36-hour fast, which is probably from a Sunday lunch to a Monday evening.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll try that. I'll try on Sunday. I'll stop eating after lunch and only eat again on Monday night. I'll see if I'm grumpy as all hell and impossible to be around. But we have a chance to do that this weekend, because it's a long weekend. Why not?
Well, I wouldn't start it like that. I wouldn't start it like that, Gareth. It's like training. I'm a comrades runner. I'm a marathon runner. You got to train yourself. Some people can't go 6 hours without eating. You need to train yourself slowly and carefully, and you need to build it up slowly. Otherwise, I'm going to get a flood of calls or flood of DMs on my Instagram saying, listen, I didn't make the 24-hour, 36-hour fast. We need some type of training.
You know what? I've got to say that marathon runners are some of the most unhealthy looking people I've ever seen in my life. Now you don't look nearly bad, but I'll tell you what, I've seen some of these people who've been running marathons and they're in their 50s and they look like old stretched biltong. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Can I jump in here with just one quick question for you?
Sure.
What advice would you have for people who are diabetic, who can't take the intermittent fasting and have to have little meals throughout the day?
Well, look, it depends if it's type 1 or type 2 diabetics, because if you're insulin dependent, that changes the game. But, many, many practitioners worldwide will show that you can reverse type 2 diabetes if you get onto the right diet. I've had Tim Noakes on my podcast, the Made to Thrive show, twice. He's reversed many people's type 2 diabetic, conditions. So it's possible. It's possible with the right diet. It's possible with a continuous glucose monitor, which you put on your arm and you see what happens to glucose. And with the right supplements and the right process and the right exercise and the right biohacks, I think you can reverse type 2 diabetes. I'm not saying for everyone. And the caveat is this is not medical advice. This is biohacking. We are talking about trying to help people improve their lifetimes. But type 2 diabetics, there is a place for them in the biohacking world.
Okay. I have a question for you, Steve. We all know that sleep is quite important. So do you have like a sleep routine, or is there like certain things that people can do to kind of get the right amount to sleep? Because we all know like quality of sleep is very important.
Yeah, and I think it just started what I mentioned is try and make sure that you don't eat 3-4 hours before you sleep. I think that's a game changer. I've seen that on my data points is, eating before you sleep wrecks your sleep. Alcohol just before you sleep wrecks your sleep. So try and give yourself at least 3-4 hours to digest that food. Even after dinner, go for a short walk. A 5-10 minute walk is so beneficial in terms of your metabolism, your digestion, and your sleep scores. So that's the first thing. The second thing is make sure that your world becomes orange and yellow. So dim the lights as best as you can. Use candles if you can, or use orange and sort of incandescent globes. I know they're not energy friendly, but if you can make your world more orange and red, put a pair of blue blocking glasses that are orange, and you will find that improves both your deep sleep and your REM sleep. Now, it sounds far-fetched, but if you want to be on devices with blue light, which contains, green light, it's going to affect your sleep. We now know this. The scientific literature is unequivocally, shown and proven that blue light and green light damages your sleep. And we have a sleep, pandemic, which is huge in terms of people with insomnia, broken sleep. And the research even shows that in daylight saving, they've got a small sample group of 1.8 billion people, Simpiwe, that when they take an hour away from people's sleep, heart attacks increase that next day by 24%.
Wow.
24%. Yeah. That is just 1 hour. So the research is there. We need to value and respect our sleep.
But what do most people do when we go to sleep at night? We sit with our devices on. And the last thing we do is we set our alarm on our phone. And then we wake up the next morning, and the first thing we do is we reach for your phone. That's not great.
No.
Yeah, it's such an important point. I'm so glad you asked that, Simpiwe. All right, so where do you see it going, Steve? I mean, you're on top of this whole biohacking thing. So where do you see AI and biotech and biohacking in the future? Where does it all go?
Oh, well, it's a very good question because, I did a presentation for Singularity University last year, and I do feel that there's going to be an integrated health performance dashboard. We're going to be able to put these data points. Everybody's going to have some type of measuring device, whether it's a ring, whether it's a wrist watch like this, or it's a device that sends through frequencies like the Apollo, that's going to be able to put into a central dashboard. There's going to be an algorithm based on your age, your genetics that you've uploaded, and it's going to red flag and orange flag and green flag the things that you need to look at and work on. Your doctor is always going to be part of the solution, but I do believe that people are going to start sort of managing and creating their own health futures through an integrated health performance dashboard, probably a crypto health wallet that you'll be able to, on the blockchain, sanction certain people to look at and not look at. And I think it's going to start a lot younger because people are getting sicker far sooner and getting, these sicknesses with the kids and the teenagers and the elderly. It's just getting so chronic that, I think 3 out of 4 Americans has a chronic disease. So it's very problematic, and we need to change the way healthcare is done from the sick care model, going to the doctor when you're sick, and rather preventing sickness and disease to a preventative healthcare model.
Yeah, this is all really helpful information. And some people saying, like Peter says, this is all common sense. But, we have to hear it from someone who actually knows what they're talking about, which is why we decided to bring Steve on this morning. I'm also amazed at how many people are medicated to the hilt. A lot of people think that being healthy means taking a ton of pills, and that's not good. In the long run, the costs of that are going to be extremely high. They say that 1 in 3 people is on antidepressants, blood thinning medication, all kinds of other things. Your body is quite resilient, and I'm no medical doctor either, but it does strike me that many people are taking all of these pills and taking all this medicine because they haven't got their body trained to do the right thing, to develop its own defense mechanisms and to develop its own balance internally, right?
Well, absolutely. And at the end of the day, I'm so grateful for Western medicine. And I give this story often about antibiotics. Antibiotics have saved millions of lives. It's an incredible drug. But now they're destroying people's lives and destroying, and causing death. Why? Because they've been overused. They've been incorrectly used, and they're destroying our gut bacteria. And so it's not non-use, it's correct use. And so we want to use Western medicine correctly. But if we've got other options, the first port of call is to do it through your own lifestyle. The hard thing is that takes work, and people unfortunately think convenience medicine is the best, just like convenient food, junk food is the best. So we need to change the narrative from the next generations to say, well, if you want to have a healthy, productive life and you don't want to get chronic disease early and you want this ticker here to work well and perform at its best, then you need to put in the hard yards. The hard yards is eating healthy. It is doing the fasting. It is making sure you're not sedentary, you're moving, you are exercising. It is looking at the data. It is respecting your sleep, because people don't respect their sleep and they wonder why they get chronic disease. I mean, I think shift workers, there's a 35% increase in cancer just from shift workers, Gareth. So, there's the data is out there. The research is out there. Chronic disease is exponentially increasing. It just seems people don't want to put the things in place to ensure that they're healthy.
Do you take any supplements? Are there any kind of things that you do on a daily basis that maybe also help you? Because clearly our diets are not always going to tick every box, and there are certain things that we need from ordinary food that we don't always get. They talk about the omega-3s and 6s. Do you take any kind of supplemental stuff?
I do, and it goes through seasons. I'll give you a typical example. I've got a Mediterranean skin. I'm outside running. In the winter, I'll take vitamin D. I think that's probably one of the most important. But I say to people, if you can afford a supplement, go and do the assessments first, because there's a lot of people taking things not based on their unique data points and their uniqueness, and actually it's not helping or it's causing damage. So go and see a doctor, or go and see a functional medicine integrative specialist who can help you with even just 10 blood tests. Will give you more information than just going to a pharmacy and saying, oh, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll try this, or maybe let me try that. And I do think that that's where it's going to change. The direct-to-consumer laboratories are going to be coming to this country. There is one already. They're increasing in the States, where individuals can go to the laboratory without a referral from a doctor and go and do the blood test. Because at the end of the day, we want to educate people. And on my podcast, I always mention the top 10 blood tests that people can do. They can speak to their doctors now and go and do those tests, so that you can base your supplements on your test, your uniqueness.
What are those tests? Ethan wants to know. What are the tests that you would recommend people go and do?
Well, I think if you, and I would put the caveat as goes, listen to the podcast, but the most important test, and we've discussed this with specialist physicians, is things like your glucose, your fasting glucose. Mm-hmm. A big miss that people have is the fasting insulin. Fasting insulin is very important because it tells you if you're pre-diabetic, even if your glucose levels are good. HbA1c, which is your glucose over 3 months, crucially important. Your cortisol and your DHEA, which is a sign of stress or adrenal health, are two very, very important tests. Ferritin, which is iron storages, because many people have too much iron. That's another problem. Too much iron is you rust from the inside. You basically rust. And some people have too little iron. So we've got a problem with iron in terms of the measurements there.
I think I'm resting at the moment. That's why I'm coughing so much this morning.
Your inflammatory markers like high sensitive C-reactive protein, homocysteine, which is a sign of cardiovascular health, or some of those. And then if you've got hormonal issues, looking at your hormonal issues, a full blood count helps. So you're looking at 10 to 12 tests, Gareth. Let people speak to their medical doctors. In this country, we've got incredibly good doctors. Yeah. But go informed to ask the right questions, because you're taking personal accountability of your own health.
I love it.
Steve, I recently learned about gut health. Yes. Could you also just briefly talk about the importance of having a healthy gut and the role that it kind of plays in your overall health?
Sure, and I think this is important when it comes to medication. I think Gareth made this point, where your body can actually fight disease and you can prevent from taking an antibiotic, because an antibiotic will generally kill at least a third of your good gut bacteria, which, obviously if you're very sick, you need an antibiotic. But the first thing about gut health is eat as many fermented foods as you can. That's very beneficial to your gut health. So fermented foods, your sauerkraut, if you can manage dairy, things like kefir, although you get a coconut kefir. Kefir is like a grain. It produces this incredible amount of probiotics and prebiotics as well. So eat as many fermented foods as you can. Kimchi, tofu, those type of things are fermented foods. That's going to help your gut bacteria. And then limit as many pharmaceutical drugs that you can take, because they have significant effects on our gut bacteria. Hugging your dogs, hugging trees, getting your hands in the soil, walking barefoot, those things, going outside, using the sun, those improve your gut bacteria and your skin microbiome. So the microbiome is crucially important. If we look at it, we've probably got about 30 trillion cells, human cells, and probably 100 trillion, of these bacteria, fungi, and parasites. So our bodies are actually a host to all this microbiome.
Yeah, I think this is very, very good. This is terrific info. I'm afraid we're out of time, though, Steve, and I appreciate this very much. If people want to hear your podcast, you mentioned it a couple of times. Where else can we find you on social media? Instagram at Steve Stavs ZA, LinkedIn Steve Stavs. We're on Facebook at Steve Stavs ZA. So those are the channels, and the website is madetothrive.co.za, because I really believe we were made to thrive and not just survive. South Africa is the second most stressful country to live in the world, according to Bloomberg. We do need to make the changes. All right, man. Thank you so much, Steve. Great to have you on.
Okay.
Very good. There he is,
Thanks.
Steve Stavs, and you can find out more by following him on his social media handles. Sunil and Simpiwe, thank you very much for spending this load shedding morning with us. I will see you around, and have an excellent Wednesday, everybody. We'll catch up tomorrow, 6 a.m. bright and early.